Okay, guys, so I've been doing some research into a book called the Zohar, and I'm basically finding the information in regards to the divine male twin soul and the divine female twin soul all through the scripture. And in fact, this is what all the scripture and all of the mythology is actually about. It's about the reunion of the divine male soul with the divine female soul so they can access divine wisdom and not only be illuminated and crowned, but also illuminate other souls. Now, the Zohar, for those of you that aren't familiar, is the foundational work in the literature of Jewish mystical thought known as Kabbalah. It is a group of books, including commentary, on the mystical aspects of the Torah. Now remember, the high priestess has the Torah unfolded on her lap, and the magician actually has the Torah given to him by the divine, because we see this in the magician tarot card that he is bringing down this information, but it is not yet revealed. The Torah scroll is closed, and it is only when you see the Torah on the lap of the high priestess that it is unfolded. And this is symbolic for the male being the Ark of the Covenant that has the divine knowledge within him, but it is the female that has the ability to unlock that information. And this is exactly what all the scripture and all the mythology is about. But unfortunately, as we move into times of lower consciousness, the female twin soul tends to be made less significant, and basically it becomes all about the male, the divine male twin soul, who is the Messiah, the embodiment of God, the embodiment of the Son of God. I could go on. Now, there are a couple of reasons that this happens. Firstly, we do have an agenda where the church has sought to silence the voice of the female because they knew and understood the power that the female had to decode the symbolism. And so their whole agenda was to remove the female completely from the scripture, to the point where if she is mentioned, she's basically very insignificant or very demure, or she's a whore. Or they have tried to, remove her significance from, other mythology and texts. Now, the reason, as I said, this is done is, one, because there is a definite agenda. I mean, the church continues to stay in power and wield so much power over the masses because they have indoctrinated the masses with lies and disinformation. Basically told them that they are all beings of lack, they are all sinners, and that when they die, that is it for them. There is no more other than if they go to heaven, and they only get to heaven through the church, of course, or they go and burn in eternal hell. And of course, we all go there if we don't go to the church, of course. And so it's all been about power in one way, that the female has been removed and placed in the background as being less significant. But the other reason is because this is actually a natural cycle. And this is what happens when we move into lower consciousness, because I'm actually seeing this pattern in all of the scripture, even in the Hindu mythology, which I've been researching into as well. It seems that the lower consciousness actually works to remove the importance of the female. It's just this natural cycle. And this is because that when we are birthed onto the physical realm, the male and female have different physical attributes. The male's attributes are all about foundation and all about the earth and all about basically, control and strength and all of those masculine qualities. And the female is more the ethereal. She's more connected to the divine, and she is more working through intuition and the heart. So her physical attributes are not as earthly and foundational and connected to the physical plane that the male attributes are. And so what happens is, as we move into lower consciousness, we see that the males actually take on more of these physical attributes, because as we're moving into lower consciousness, we're forgetting our divinity and we're moving more into the physical plane, because we're actually forgetting that there is an ethereal part to ourselves as well, and we're in bondage now. We're in bondage to that physical plane. And so this brings out those elements within the male, and that is to overpower through strength and to use their foundational attributes to, basically take over the energy and, and the influence of the female. And so this isn't anything that we can blame on the males, and I quite often see a lot of blame being placed on the males, and even I've seen males blame themselves. And so really it's just part of the cycle that we go through. And as we descend into lower consciousness, we have to remember that this is because we are being tested and challenged. The universe, God consciousness wants to see our metal, wants to see what we're made of. So we're placed in these situations that give us the ability to either take the high path or take the lower road of instant gratification and utilize those base energies to basically try and control our environment and others. And if we do this in a negative way, then we're not really aligned with our heart, and we're not really working through good intentions. And this is not pretty much a place where we want to be in these times. We really want to move it back into being in alignment with our heart and in alignment, alignment with good intentions and, being a good soul. So anyway, I was looking into the Zohar, and as I said, I couldn't believe how clear it is that they have the twin soul information all throughout the text. But unfortunately, whenever I'm actually watching videos about this information, it's always the male rabbi, full of dogma, full of indoctrination, full of the we are the chosen ones, mentality, interpreting a text that he has no ability to interpret this text, because he's a male, and basically he just does not have the understanding of this text that the female twin soul has. And now I'm not saying this in a way of arrogance. I'm saying that this is how nature designed this. And as I said, because we move into a time of lower consciousness where men allow their physical attributes to overcome their divinity and control them, then this information is not safe with the male. And so that's why it's given to the female. And we see this in the Garden of Eden. When Eve accepts the apple from the tree of knowledge, that's not her being sinful. That is the two manifested souls now on the physical plane about to begin their journey throughout the next cycle. They've just landed in Zep Tepi. This is what the Adam and Eve symbolism represents. They're just about to begin their journey, and the snake gives Eve the apple of knowledge because she is the one that is less corruptible than the male. She is the one that has the ability to unlock the divine knowledge. And of course, the church have just gone to manipulate and totally, change the story to make the female evil. And this is part of the agenda, once again, to remove the importance of the female and to hide the truth from us. So when I see these rabbis trying to interpret this text, they come from always a physical perception. They always treat this as the physical. They don't bring any celestial influences really into this. They don't actually look outside of that little box of indoctrination that they've been placed in, because they've been programmed from the time that they were children also into this priesthood. And it's only those in the religious institutions that are at the very top, like the cardinals and the very top rabbi, that actually know the truth of this information about the divine male soul and the divine female soul. The bottom ranks have no idea. They're no different than the herd, and they're never given the truth. So anyway, as I said, I found some really interesting information in the Zohar, and it's pretty clear about the twin soul. So the first that I wanted to read out to you was this little parable here, this verse. When they first issue forth, they issue as male and female together. Subsequently, when they descend to this world, they separate, one to one side and the other to the other. And God afterwards unites them, God and no other, he alone knowing the mate proper to each. Happy the man who is upright in his works or pure, and walks in the way of truth, so that his soul may find its original mate. For then he becomes indeed perfect, and through his perfection the whole world is blessed. Now, this couldn't be clearer. This is telling us about the divine male soul and the divine female soul reuniting. And due to this reunion, they can now access the divine knowledge and bless the world, because this information is relayed and everybody understands the truth of who they really are. Then we change our perception of reality. Now, some other interesting comments or verses that I found was this one. The Zohar teaches that your soul has a twin who was created with you in the beginning. God will bring the two of you together, it says, if you live a life of purity and good works. All the souls in the world, which are the fruit of the handiwork of the Almighty, are mystically one. But when they descend to this world, they are separated into male and female, though these are still conjoined. So that means that even though we separate when we manifest onto the physical plane, we're still actually joined. And we will always be actually joined to our twin soul, because we are from one in the beginning. Before we separated, we were one. It also goes on to say that centuries before Zohar was written, Plato taught that each of us is half of a divine whole, and that is why we are always searching for our original partner. In his Symposium, he writes, ancient is the desire of one another which is implanted in us, reuniting our original nature, making one of two, and healing the state of man. So once again, we see that when these twin souls reunite, and this is the divine twin souls, that they heal man. And I just can't believe how blatantly this is actually in all the scripture, yet we still see this ignored by these rabbi, by these so-called mystical men who completely ignore what is right in front of our faces. And then it goes on to say that this is what Plato actually said. Each of us, when separated, having one side only like a flat fish, is but the indentation of a man, and he is always looking for his other half. When one of them meets with his other half, the actual half of himself, the pair are lost in amazement of love, friendship, and intimacy. These are the people who pass their whole lives together, yet they could not explain what they desire of one another, for the intense yearning which each of them has towards the other does not appear to be the desire of lovers' intercourse, but of something else, which the soul of either evidently desires and cannot tell. The Talmud says, 40 days prior to the formation of a child, a heavenly voice cries out, saying, the daughter of so-and-so is destined for so-and-so. And goes on to say that the Holy Zohar teaches that no female soul or male soul is a complete human soul without the other. Male and female are two halves of the same whole. What affects one, therefore, affects the other. So there you go, guys. I just wanted to bring you what I'm finding in the Zohar. And it's basically the same as what I'm finding in ancient Egypt, the Hindu mythology, the Norse mythology, the Christian mythology, and now the Jewish mythology. It's everywhere. So anyway, I'll leave it here and I will post the links underneath. And as always, guys, peace out.